The Utah Utes are not slowing down in the transfer portal.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen and view of the day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Today's show is brought to you by our great friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College, all caps, no spaces, for $20 off your first purchase. We want to thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network, and a huge shout out to our everydayers. My name is JT Wistrcill, credentialed media member who covers Utah athletics. Excited to be joined by the portal navigator, or also the president of War Room, former Utah kicker, recruiting extraordinaire, Moose Bingham, kind enough to join me here. We're going to talk about how good will this Utah team be in 2026 based on their schedule a little bit later. Also talk about now that this coaching staff is finalized, how are they going to do, leading and developing the future of Utah football at all these positions. But first, we have to start with Utah continuing to make moves in the transfer portal. Little note, the transfer portal actually does close tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any last Utah players that trickle into the portal, but the portal does close tomorrow. You can still grab guys out of the portal, but the deadline to enter is Friday. So we'll keep it covered here. But Utah is making moves in the transfer portal moves. The first one, the biggest one of recently that they landed, is San Jose State running back Steven Chavez Soto. He's a 6-foot freshman who was 205 pounds, ran for 448 yards with San Jose State on 87 carries in 8 games last season, also 7 touchdowns too. If this is Utah's starter, I'd be like, I don't know about that, but I already have Wistrcil Parker. I have Daniel Bray, and then now Soto competing as the backup to 2 versus 3 spot, and he had 400 yards last year at the Mountain West level. This seems like a solid addition to me.
I mean, he honestly is a top 3 addition. You look at the guys that are coming in rated by 247. You've got Ethan Day, who's really good as well. He's an 87, and so is Chavez Soto. But the crown jewel of this class is still Braden Pagan.
Yep.
He is a stud. And the more running backs we can get, the better. We have 2 phenomenal quarterbacks going into the season. We've got a great running back, but when you've got depth at the running back position, you can really go fast and go hard. And that's what our new offensive coordinator likes to do. He's going to get a lot of plays in. He's going to wear the defense down. I love to see additions at running back and skill positions. And Utah, you're going to see a whole new offense. I can see us getting a 1,000-yard receiver. I can see us putting guys in the NFL. I am stoked to see what happens this next year.
Oh, that'd be a lot. 1,000-yard receiver, but hey, they got a couple of the guys. What, just Pagan? You think he's ready?
I think he's ready. Take off the cuffs and let's start chucking the ball around. Everyone else has been doing it. And Scalley, he says, I don't care. Let's put the pedal to the metal. And I'm so excited to see what this Utah offense does.
I'm excited too, and I do think there's a chance, especially with you look at the way Devin Dampier closed the season against Nebraska. At the same time, he just has to stay healthy. I feel like that's one thing that really hinders his passing is he takes so many hits. He's not always healthy, but that's something that we'll see in the future. But really quick, one last note I do want to mention on Chavez Soto. He was just a freshman, as we said, so 448 yards as a freshman, and I think he's only going to continue to grow and get better. So I think this could be a really good depth piece for Utah, especially as Daniel Bray. The thing with him is he needs to continue to add strength to be more effective between the tackles. Obviously, his speed is incredible, and there's a reason Utah used him in so many sweep motion plays, just trying to get him on the edges as much as they could, but he's got to get stronger there. So Utah made an addition on offense. Well, they also were able to make one on defense. They grabbed Earl Parker, a cornerback from Hutchinson Community College, who comes over 6'2", 186 pounds, did play in 11 games this past season, 18 total tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, which I love it when a corner doesn't have a ton of tackles because that means they're not targeting him a lot. He had an interception, 2 pass breakups too. I think this is a nice get, but I'll be honest, Moose, I don't expect him to see the field. I think Utah's gotten better guys than Parker, but never bad to try to add depth and get better for the future. That's what I think this move is in the cornerback room. I don't see him seeing the field much in 26. Do you?
Well, you never know. He could. And then kids coming from JUCO, they are absolute dogs. I mean, I remember when I was at BYU, we brought in Robertson Daniel. Keith McGill, he's another dude who came from junior college. You see these JUCO guys, they're different. They haven't had the meals brought to them, the 5-star service, the getting on a plane. They've bust their bums all around Kansas, all around Texas, all around the country, and they are excited and they are dogs. I think this kid could come in, and the cornerback room has lost a lot. You've lost to Smith Snowden. You've lost Ice Moa, or not Ice Moa, Celesi. You've lost some guys that you
Blake
think,
Cotton. Yeah.
and the job is wide open. Let's go. Let's see what this kid can do. I love his height. I love his tackling ability. The tackles for loss are something that I love to see, and he's not getting challenged a lot. And you're going to see a different Utah defense than you've seen in the past.
Yeah. And what makes you say that? Just Colton Swan calling the plays? You think they'll be different?
I think Colton Swan brings a new thought process to what's going on. He's not really from the peas tree. He's seen what's going on with Kyle Whittingham and he's seen Scalley, but you're going to see him do his own thing. He was at Weber State for a long time, and he's not beholden to rules and thought processes that are from the early 2000s. He can go in and do his own thing, and I think Colton Swan is going to be one of the more decorated defensive coordinators in this state.
All right, I'll love to hear that. And hey, obviously BYU took a hit with Jay Hill leaving, so both Utah and BYU with new defensive coordinators, with Morgan Scalley taking over as the head coaching role with this Utah team. But you look, we mentioned Hutchinson we mentioned Parker, the Hutchinson transfer for this Utah team. I think the reason right now I don't see him playing a ton is because of another community college transfer, just one we got last year. I thought Rock Caldwell actually did really good in his limited snaps. Look, only one interception, one pass breakup, 7 tackles. He got in late in the game, but 6'3", 172. I think he's going to be one of the starters on the outside. I also think that James Chenault, a USF starter, I think those are the 3 best cornerbacks as we stand here right now today. So that's where I'm curious to see who else will make their way in. A little note as well, Jason Stokes Jr., who technically re-signed with Utah last week, actually did not, because now he's entering the transfer portal, because that's just the world of college football we live in now. So cornerback room did take a little bit of a hit, but obviously Sharif Shaw does a great job there. Utah's defensive line gets some talent back as defensive end Alex Cloward, who is from the state of Utah, entered the transfer portal, but then withdrew his name. Guy who came from Salem Hills Moose. We got to see what he was made of at the high school level. And the fact that he's coming back to Utah means this Utah staff might see a place for him in the rotation next year, potentially, right?
Yeah, I mean, Utah's lost a lot at D tackle the last few years and a lot at D line. If Cloward can put some weight on, he comes from a great tree, a great genealogy. Like, he comes from a really well-to-do family. So I'm excited to see what Alex does in the next little bit. Him testing the waters of the transfer portal. Utah may have been like, hey, this is a kid we don't want to leave. We see a massive future with him. And Utah, they're going to need some help at the D line. I love Kafusi. I love all of our guys, but they're young. Even the kid we brought in from Wyoming, he's a freshman. So this D line could be phenomenal in the next 2 or 3 years. Next year, we get to see exactly what this new coaching staff is all about.
Yeah, he's 6'3", 247. Right now listed as defensive end, but you make a good point. Maybe his better spot would be at defensive tackle. So it'll be interesting to see how this Utah team utilizes him in the rotation, and just going to be interesting to continue to see what this Utah team does in the transfer portal. But who's leading the charge for Utah in the transfer portal? Well, it's all the coaches. It's many new faces. So what do we think about the way that Morgan Scalley's first coaching staff looks? We're going to talk about it in one moment. This episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. There's nothing like college football season. The tailgates, the packed stadiums, and being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, that part can usually be frustrating with those long queues, the logins, and prices jumping at checkout. That's why Game Time gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I opened the Game Time app, took a look at upcoming college football games, and was surprised at how fast and easy it was to find great seats. The zone deal stood out, right? You pick this section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more. Also, college football tickets can be as low as $25. Made it easy to plan a game day trip, and you can plan yours too by heading over to Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege. All caps, no spaces, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. You can download the Game Time app today. Thank you again for making Locked On Utes your first listen and view of the day. A reminder, if you want to join our Everydayer Club, you can. It's in the episode description on YouTube or podcast. What you get is an ad-free version of this podcast, as well as an opportunity to enter a Discord chat with myself and other Locked On hosts. For more information on the Everydayer chat, check your episode description. Moose Bingham back with me here. Moose, talking about the Utah coaching staff, Morgan Scalley was going to be tested more than we thought when Kyle Whittingham left, because with Kyle getting the job at Michigan, he took a lot with him. Fred Whittingham, Micah Simon, Jason Beck, Jim Harding, Lewis Powell, even on his way over there. So it was a lot that Utah lost. And overall, I like a lot of the moves. I don't think every hire Utah made was probably a 10 out of 10, but I do think it's a talented staff that is still capable of helping this Utah football team contend for a conference championship, even in year one. What do you think of this staff as a whole?
Well, number one, Morgan Scalley is the right man at the helm. I love seeing Morgan. And him being tested, that's okay. That's exactly what happened to Kyle Whittingham when Urban Meyer left. He took a lot of coaches with him to Florida. And people tend to forget that. They're like, oh, but Kyle's been solid. Kyle is solid, and I love Kyle. But he had a rough go getting a staff together. Scalley is very personable. He's done a great job. Kevin McGivern coming from Utah State. I love that hire because he's bringing guys from Utah State and San Jose State, giving them the right opportunities. And Kevin McGivern has a lot of experience, and he's a well-seasoned coordinator. He does a great job. Colton Swan, can't say enough good things about him. I've sat there, I've coached with him over special team stuff. He is one of the smartest individuals in the entire country. I love watching Colton Swan. And then when we get into the nitty-gritty, there isn't a better human being than Sharif Shah. I'd want him my associate head coach, associate anything, because Sharif Shah, he can bridge the gap, not just with recruiting, but with life. I mean, if I could be half the man Sharif Shah is, I've made it as a human being. That's how much I respect Sharif Shah. Keeping him was massive. Marky Atawaya, you guys see him rapping, ripping and rhyming and ripping. I see Marky Atawaya as a genius running back coach. You see him come in, he gets his guys ready, he gets them excited. They understand their role, and he's been doing a fantastic job from Wayne Telly-Papa, Jamal Williams. I've seen him take Paul Lasike, who didn't even know how to hold a ball right, and he got him going the right way. I mean, Marky Atawaya, he is an accomplished running back coach, and he is the perfect person to kind of bridge the Polynesian community, because I love everything Marky does. Having coached with him, he's great. Jordan Gross, everyone's like, oh, he doesn't have experience. He doesn't do a lot of things. That's an advantage. You want a guy to come in that can relate to kids, that isn't doing a lot of bad habits already. He's a guy that can teach people the right way, the NFL way, and get them ready to go to the next level. I am stoked for this offensive line, to be honest with you, JT. They've got a man among boys really leading them, and that's who Jordan Gross is. Coach Bump, we've already seen what he's done. He's coached some of the best receivers in the last little bit, and that's with him kind of having handcuffs on him, to be honest with you. He is awesome. Luther Ellis, defensive tackles. There's not a better person at D tackles than Luther Ellis. He's been playing with one arm tied behind his back. He's had a lot of guys go different places, but we also get a lot of help from Enoke Brecherfield. Enoke, you've seen the people that he's coached. You love the people that he's coached. Now we get more pressure off the edge coming from Utah, and I love this guy coming in, and he's going to do awesome. Derek Odom, fan favorite. You guys are going to love him. I already love him. Derek Odom is a guy that I wanted all the schools to pursue because he does a great job with safeties. I mean, every single level, Utah has the right person leading it, and Scalley's done a phenomenal job getting them in there. Did I forget? Oh, Wells. Yeah, tight end coach coming in. Wells, his brother has been a head coach, and there's a reason he brought his little brother along, but Wells is awesome as well. I was a little timid when I was hesitant, to be honest with you, when Freddie left, but there couldn't be a better coach to come in than Coach Wells to do what he's doing.
And glowing endorsement of a lot of those guys. I think and you may have said him, but I'm trying to remember now. I don't think you said Ryan Gunderson, the Utah quarterback coach who was from Oregon State. He was their offensive coordinator. Now he comes over as the QB coach. And look, it did not go well for Oregon State last year, but I think he obviously deserves some of the blame for that, but there was a lot going on wrong there. I think he was far from the only thing. And we know the challenges they kind of face recruiting wise now, too, as they are no longer a Pac 12 school and don't get that same level of revenue in a sport that revenue is more important than ever in order to build your roster. So I do think that's an interesting move for Utah. And he comes over after working with UCL, who's with Oregon State for 1 year, UCLA QBs from 21 to 23. So with Chip Kelly there, got a little bit of time with the Dante Moores of the world, Ethan Garbers as well. So I think it's an intriguing move. He's a guy who's been around. Moose, I'll ask you this. How does the role of because I think last year, right, Coy Detmer Jr. and Jason Beck were so lock and step. How much time does a Kevin McGivern spend with Utah quarterbacks, do you feel like, versus how much of it is just Gunderson working with them one-on-one?
Every staff is different, to be honest with you. But what's nice, because the NCAA increased coaching staffs, you have an offensive coordinator that's just focusing on plays. Coy Detmer going in and really implementing Jason Beck's system allows Jason Beck to go on the road, to recruit quarterbacks, and to do what he needs to do. Last year during spring ball, you saw Isaac Asiata and Coy Detmer basically running the offense, and that makes them that much more valuable. And you're seeing they're getting bigger and bigger jobs because of it. But having a well-seasoned offensive coordinator coming in that McGivern can bounce ideas off of, there's just nothing more valuable than that. I think the quarterback room is going to take another step because of the knowledge that he brings from his past positions.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And one thing that you mentioned earlier that I'm very intrigued by, you talked about Utah's new wide receiver coach, Bumpus, who's returning after a few years away, not having the handcuffs on. And of course, what you're referring to is Kyle Whittingham wanting this to be such a run heavy offense, never turning the ball over and just not throwing it as much. We know that Morgan Scalley is cut from the same cloth as Kyle Whittingham, but Moose, do you think he's going to have the same approach that Kyle did where he's going to be very controlling of the offense? I think he'll have some say in it, but I think he's going to give a Kevin McGivern more freedom than, yes, Jason Beck I thought had a lot of freedom last year, but in the past there really had not, like Andy Ludwig did not have that same level of freedom. I feel like there's going to be more of a level of freedom for honestly all parts of the staff probably, but even more so maybe the offensive willingness to air the ball out under Morgan Scalley. How do you see it?
Yeah, I see that. I mean, Coach Whittingham, he's got a process, he's got procedures, and he's got it nailed down. And he's like, this is how we do things. We're in quarter one. This is how we're doing it. Doug, take the boys. We're going to get them bigger, faster, and stronger. Quarter two, this is what we're doing. We're getting ready for the season. Quarter three. Like, has everything so dialed in that it's amazing, but it doesn't cause a lot of creativity, and it causes a little bit of wear out after time. I'm excited to see what Coach Argus does with the strength program. I'm excited to see how they play off each other. And Coach Whittingham does a fantastic job of coaching, but he also wants to control the clock, limit overs, and by controlling the clock, you limit your offense from explosive plays. You're like, hey, we're going to do this. It gets scary when you have an offense that goes 3 and out in 15 seconds, and Whittingham doesn't want that. If you're going to do a 3 and out, take 2 minutes. Let's see what we can do. Let's run the ball. Let's protect it. Let's do it. But I think Scalley, we may be calling him Riverboat Scalley when everything's said and done, because he might be rolling the dice here a little bit more than Whittingham was.
I would love that. And really quick, Moose, you did mention, of course, Utah did lose their head of strength and conditioning, strength and performance, all that. He went with Witt to Michigan. How big of a loss do you feel like that is? And how do you think his replacement, who you mentioned, will do following in his footsteps?
So Greg Argus is one of the top strength coaches in the country, honestly. I've worked with him. He's awesome. He got me from about 130 pounds to about 180 pounds, which doesn't sound big, but he knows all the processes and procedures, and he's been waiting for his chance to go. Doug Elisaya, I love him too. He's done such a great job for years and years and years, and he knows what it is, but he's going to have to adjust to a different type of kid where it's like, hey, you've got these 5 stars that are used to this, 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 and this, where Utah's been developing kids for years, and he's going to be doing different things. With Argus, Argus knows how to develop the kids that come to the state of Utah, and he's been doing it for years. He's just been really more hands-on than a hands-off, and you're going to see him go a little more hands-off and put the right team around him, because they didn't just lose one strength coach, they lost a couple. So it's going to be interesting how they get that. You're going to see probably some attrition from the recruiting program. You're going to see Scalley's handprint on this program a lot quicker than many people anticipated.
Yeah, it's absolutely the truth, and it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like. Now that we know what a lot of the staff looks like, what's next for this Utah football team? How are they actually going to do in 2026? Moose, the answer to that, I think, is pretty dang well. And yes, they have a lot of things they need to figure out, right? An entire new offensive line. Their top 3 pass catchers are gone. So yes, we like some of the pieces there, but it's still new. And also the connection has to be formed between Dampier and these guys. There is no Ryan Davis Dampier, who had a year at New Mexico together and then had the great year they did at Utah. Defensively, replace the entire starting defensive line. You are down your top linebacker, even if your second and third guys are stepping up there. Some safeties back, but you still lose a Teo Johnson. We mentioned some of the departures in the cornerback room. So there's a lot that Utah has to figure out, but it's a lot the Big 12 Conference has to figure out too, because outside of BYU, most everyone's losing a lot of their guys. In Utah, yes, they see BYU this season, but if I look at Utah's schedule overall, it actually sets himself up well for success, especially when you consider Devin Dampier, Wayshawn Parker, Bird Ficklin, a couple other key pieces are coming back for this team. Reminder, Utah starts the season with Idaho at home, which that's kind of a nice ramp-up game. Then Arkansas the following week. But a reminder, Arkansas, that's year 1 of a new culture, a new program. Hard to win in Salt Lake City. I think the Razorbacks will find that. Battle of the Brothers, Utah State. So Kevin McGivern's revenge game against Bronco Mendenhall, because I know there's so much animosity built up there. That's the next one for Utah. And then after that, like, you look at the Utah home games they have, because they only are on the road a few times. They get they get BYU at home, Houston at home, Kansas at home, West Virginia at home. They go to Arizona, Cincinnati, Colorado, Iowa State, and TCU. Outside of BYU, that's a lot of Big 12 programs trying to figure it out in the transfer portal, trying to put their rosters together. TCU has lost Hoover. Cincinnati just lost Sorsby. I think this Utah team, look, maybe they'll be 8-4, maybe they'll be worse, but there's a world they could go 10-2, even if they're a worse team this year than they were last year, because the schedule doesn't have Tech on there. Yeah, BYU, but no Tech as well. How do you feel about this Utah schedule as we sit here about 9 months removed from it getting back underway?
You know what? I almost put on my coach's hat and I'm like, I'm just going to take it 1 week at a time. All I care about is Idaho State right now. But I'm not that guy, JT. I'm not a very serious coach. I think that this is a tougher schedule than you do, honestly.
Really?
I think it's a little bit tough. I'm a little bit bullish on Colorado. I'm pretty bullish on BYU. Arkansas, some of those kids that they signed are very, very good.
Fair.
Utah State getting Robert and I back is a big win for them, honestly. And they've got some dudes, but they've lost some dudes. Arizona, they've got their quarterback back. Colorado, they've got their quarterback back. Houston, we'll see what happens. Iowa State. But if Utah can go 6-6 this year, I think that's a massive win. It's go bowling or bust for me. That's what they've got to do. And I think they've got the opportunity to do it, but they've lost a lot. And I want to see how the D-line responds to what's happened this last year. If the D-line can step up, I think Utah has that ability to go 10-2, even 11-1. But if the D tackles don't step up, I think 6-6 might be the ceiling.
Are you surprised at how much Utah's lost? Like, I knew it was going to be hard to keep John Henry Daly, Smith Snowden, but Jonah Laea, Dallas Vakalaki, JJ Buchanan, I didn't see those departures coming. And do you feel like this team is in an adequate position to replace them? Because obviously Utah has replaced guys before when they've lost key players, but the 2023 season did happen. And yeah, bad quarterback play was part of the reason why, but wasn't the only reason. Are you surprised at how much the starters Utah lost, especially not even just the top of the top guys?
I am surprised at this point because it's not just losing the starters. It's losing the starters that would keep the team together. And so when you're losing guys that are like, hey, let's stay here, let's make this a Ute thing, it makes it easier for a lot of other guys not to hop in the portal. But when you lose those glue guys, that's when things get a little rocky and becomes troublesome.
It does. It absolutely does. So we were talking a little bit about the Big 12 there. It feels like Tech and BYU should be right back towards the top. Is there anyone else you're looking at as well? I think Houston could be pretty good next year. Are there anyone else in this conference that you think will be like right there for contending right now as we sit here far away from the season?
It's the Big 12. I can't even do a real answer till, till at least the portal's closed.
Yeah.
But in reality, the Big 12, every year I'm like, this team's going to win 3 games, and they end up winning the Big 12. And I'm like, it's like the NFC South in the NFL. Every single year, it's a new team that wins it. So you're just like, okay, whatever. We'll see what happens. But I think Utah can actually make a run. I
Mhm.
think how the kids take the coaching. I can see Carson Kafusi being an All-American when everything's said and done. If he can go in and still keep recovering from his injury. Some of these guys, you got to realize, like Carson Kafusi, for example, he's coming off a massive ACL tear. And I was impressed he was on the field at all last year. This year, I expect him to be dominant. And I think he can take those next few steps and be our own Aaron Donald.
Whoa, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Like in terms of being a very good player, like, and now that he has Aaron Donald's coach, not directly coaching him, but along the defensive line, I'd
Yeah,
love to see it happen, Moose. We'll see.
each other. I mean, it's like safeties and corners. You'll still do things together if you're D tackles and D ends. You'll be doing a lot of different things. And it's going to be interesting. Utah could surprise us all and hop out in a 3-man front. They could do a lot of different things because Colton Swan, he's really, really creative. So I'm excited to see what Utah does. But kind of the floor for me is 6 wins. The ceiling, we're looking at 10 plus.
I could see it. I really can. Because two things can be true. I said on yesterday's show, in the world of did we win or did we lose? Utah's lost the transfer portal when you look at how much they've lost. But that doesn't mean that everyone they've gotten is bad. I think there's a ton of really good high upside guys they've added. And we know this Utah team is known for their ability to recruit and develop. I feel like the schedule sets up for success as well, too. Moose doesn't feel as much the same way on the schedule part of it, but still believes in this Utah roster. One thing we can always agree on, Moose, is that's always a blast whenever you come on this show, or at least I think we could agree on that. But please let everyone know where more people can find your workout, my friend.
Oh, you guys, if you're a college coach, go to collegewarroom.com. If you're a parent or a player, go to recruitforparents.com and get yourself on that platform so you guys can understand the recruiting process, understand the NIL process, and let's get you guys helped out.
The portal, recruiting, just about everything else, Navigator. Moose Bingham, love you, man. Appreciate you.
Love you too. Talk to you later, JT.
Talk to you soon. That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Utes. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Talk about the latest Utah football is dealing with in the transfer portal.